Sup, Sean Spicer's daily White House press briefing. Joining me now is Ron Hoon. That was a very highly anticipated press briefing. It seems like every day it's a highly anticipated press briefing with
Yes.
Sean Spicer.
Yes.
But this one even more so following last night's resignation of General Flynn.
And it's so interesting to me that he seems ready for every question. And if there's a question that he either doesn't want to go there or doesn't know the answer, he just basically, I don't have anything for you, and then boom, right on to the next person. But, I mean, he can be to the point where he can be almost confrontational.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? He seemed happier today.
Yes. No, I think he actually is thriving on this job. I think he's doing a really good job. And obviously Saturday Night Live is making some hay off of the whole situation. But,
right.
Yeah, no, I mean, he had a specific message that he wanted to get out today, and he got it out, right? How many times did he answer a different iteration of the same question with, it was looked at by White House counsel, it was deemed that no illegal activity had taken place. Then we moved on to phase two, which was there an intent to mislead, and did the president any longer have trust?
Right, so he kept saying this wasn't a legal issue, this was a trust issue, specifically using the phrase eroding trust between the president and his national security advisor.
And I would say, I don't know, maybe we'll never, there's so many things that happen behind the scenes at the White House. I was really hoping to get the answer to the question today, which was asked, and which I am really curious about, which is, how did it go from Kellyanne Conway yesterday morning in the morning shows saying the president has complete trust in General Flynn to 11 o'clock in the morning our time, and Sean Spicer saying we're at the level of evaluation? It was so obvious that how quickly they were dialing it back.
Well, I've read some things about that.
Okay.
Well, I mean, obviously I've been reading Politico a lot because there's so many articles analyzing this, and a lot of journalists out there are analyzing what Kellyanne Conway's role actually is in the administration. Some people say she's not as much of an insider as people like to believe. That she might have been out of the loop on this one.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm also reading other articles about how there's some internal conflict between Sean Spicer and Kellyanne Conway. So when he saw that, he immediately put something else out. Obviously, this is, I kind of view the internet and Twitter as just this like sort of gossip fodder.
Yeah.
But there are all sorts of things going on.
I actually believe that if somebody said you have to come down to one theory or another, my theory is that she did not know to what level it was already being considered, meaning the dismissal.
Right.
And so, whether Sean Spicer was upset about it or what, who will ever know about that? But that is the theory that makes the most sense. That it wasn't a sudden change of course, because it sounds to me like the analysis on can we trust this guy any longer was actually underway for several days.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was, it was huge breaking news. It broke late last night, just after 9 o'clock here in Arizona.
Is that how late it was?
Yeah. Okay. I found out, I think it was like 9:01, 9:02, I tweeted it.
Wow. So that would be 11 o'clock on the East Coast.
Right.
Yeah, that was shocking then for people back that way. Okay.
Did you read the full resignation letter?
No, but I saw you. Did you tweet it?
I did tweet it late last night, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up.
Good.
One moment, guys, while
One moment, please.
Get that off my phone.
We're standing by.
Let me get it.
Do you have you and me on your Twitter page?
Yeah, I do have a picture of us.
I like it.
Okay. So, are you able to read that?
Well, with my glasses.
Yeah, it's pretty small print, but
quite tiny. Okay, so in the course of my duties, let me see if it'll work better like this. Yeah, there we go. In the course of my duties as the incoming NSA, I held numerous phone calls with foreign counterparts, ministers, and ambassadors. These calls were to facilitate a smooth transition and begin to build necessary relationships between the president, his advisors, and foreign leaders. Such calls are standard practice in any transition of this magnitude. Unfortunately, because of the fast pace of events, I inadvertently briefed the Vice President-elect and others with incomplete information regarding my phone calls with the Russian ambassador. I've sincerely apologized to the President, the Vice President, and they have accepted my apology. Throughout my 33 years of honorable military service and my tenure as the NSA, I've always performed my duties with the utmost of integrity and honesty to those I have served, to include the President of the United States. I am tendering my resignation, honored to have served our nation and the American people in such a distinguished way. So, I think that, I mean, it's well worded, but I don't know. What was your first reaction when you heard it? Unfortunately, because of the fast pace of events, I inadvertently briefed the Vice President-elect and others with incomplete information. I mean, the way I understand it is Mike Pence asked him point blank, did you talk sanctions?
And he said
Because
no.
somehow that was already out there in the air somewhere, right?
Well, they had been told
Mm-hmm.
by the DOJ, right, that information had been compromised. That Flynn might
Well,
have
yeah, but
been.
I think that was after the conversations had taken place, and they
Okay.
were overviewing transcripts of the clandestine work that our intelligence services do on the Russians. Okay?
I see.
And so that happened after the fact. But somehow, as I recall, it was out there enough that I think Mike Pence felt he needed to ask that specific question, because sure enough, it was asked of him the following day
Right,
on
and-
the talk show circuit. So that's one that I don't think you can say, well, things are happening too fast, Mr. Vice President.
Like, you would
I
remember if
can't-
you talked about sanctions, is what you're saying.
Correct.
It's not something that just kind of slips your mind.
Correct.
Yeah.
And Washington is a town where people thrive on alliteration and on parsing of words. You know, so Mike Flynn could have said, I think we did, but I'd be hard pressed to say how extensive it was or something.
Right.
You know, if it is really truly fast paced, and you can't remember exactly what got said, but you would remember whether that topic came up. It's probably the number one sore spot between the Americans and the Russians right now is the sanctions. You would remember whether that topic came up, and to say no, we did not discuss. To me, just seems like an out-and-out falsehood, not the fast pace of events. That's a funny sentence to me.
Right.
Due to the fast pace of events. No.
Well, I mean, you have to blame it on something, right? When you're issuing a statement like this, you have to accept blame,
Right.
but also offer an explanation.
Yes.
And the way it's worded,
Yeah.
offers an explanation without blatantly saying, I lied.
Yes.
Right?
True. But I don't know how the fast pace of events makes you seem like anything other than somebody who is disorganized, right? I mean, due to the fast pace of events, and I do believe there was a lot going on, and he probably obviously had lots of phone calls going back and forth. I don't know. I mean, even a. I better get back to you on that, Mr. Vice President, because thinking back on it now, I think it might have come up or something. But to just say nope, absolutely not. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the transcript, but to paraphrase, that he was pretty firm in his denial, and I actually think his fate was sealed pretty much the very next day when Pence went on the talk shows and defended him, and now you
Because
get
it
the
makes
Vice
Pence
President.
look bad.
Yes, and he's built a whole political career on trying to be a solid, trustworthy guy.
Right.
So, yeah. Now, it's just going to be interesting to see where we go from here. I do have a poll question up, which is Democrats are pushing now the narrative of what did the president know and when did he know it.
Right. I'm going to pull up your poll. While you
Okay. Which
keep
I think is
explaining it.
which I think is part of the reason that that we heard the same message about 6 different times from Sean Spicer, which is, I'm telling you when he knew it. He knew it when the White House counsel came. Keep in mind, this is a pretty savvy businessman. The White House counsel is going to bring it to him, and he's going to have a conversation in what basically we could call a safe space, which is there with the attorneys advising him along the way and other top key advisors, and not just picking up the phone like LBJ would have. He was famous for his phone calls and berating people, not just picking up the phone and saying, get me Flynn on the line right now.
Right.
You know? I mean, he's smart enough to know how you have to kind of handle this situation when it's first presented to you.
So, we have your poll on the screen.
Yes.
You want to go ahead and read it?
NSA Chief Mike Flynn resigns over Russian contacts. Democrats demand, what did the president know and when did he know it? And then the question is, investigate him.
Let's find out.
Right now, 43% say yes, it seems suspicious, 57. I try to always get as close to 50-50. I feel that is a well-composed question. The last thing I ever want to see in a poll is 95-5.
Right.
You know, it's sort of a waste of time that way. When you know, oh gosh, well, everybody has the unanimity of opinion. And so, yeah, this is one that's running a little outside that 50-50 mark. But I had a poll yesterday regarding whether you should get off Twitter that had almost 700 votes.
Wow, and what were the results?
In that one, the majority of people, it was very close. If I recall, 52% say no, I like what he's doing. 48% say yes, just govern. Just govern. So
Every morning, I know when I open Twitter that I'm going to see a new tweet from the president.
yes,
From his real Donald Trump account, not
That's
the
right.
POTUS account,
right.
the real Donald Trump account.
Yes, right. And, you know, I was thinking about it today. I think about the news a lot, even when I'm away from here. And I just thought, I wonder if this is just going to be the new norm, and people are just going to have to get used to it. That the curtain is drawn back a little bit more, and even if you are the leader of the free world and you have to couch your words and you have to be somewhat mindful of, okay, what I'm about to say, how does that impact this relationship and that relationship and that relationship? Nevertheless, there may be things that you feel are either a little bit more personal or a little more flip, sort of, that would be okay to talk about. And insulting Mark Cuban, you know, is not any type of national security issue or anything along those
Well,
lines.
that's why it came from his personal account and not
Yeah.
his POTUS account.
Right. And I mean, he's such a competitive guy. I think he loves the fact that, you know, he can get a dig in like that. And it was, not only is he not smart enough to be president, he's not even smart enough to run for president.
But Mark Cuban is significantly younger than Donald Trump.
Yes, right.
So he has
appeals
some
to a
more
different-
years. I'm just saying he has some more years to
Right.
choose to run for president. He could possibly run for president.
Yes, right. I thought it was kind of interesting. If you do a Google search on what is the best estimate of the net worth of those two gentlemen, they're quite close to each other.
What if we had a Cuban versus Trump 2020?
Oh my goodness, could you imagine? Instead of what we're all anticipating, which is the Kanye versus Trump in 2020.
I don't know. Yesterday I read a Politico article about how Hillary Clinton is probably going to run in 2020. So anything's possible.
And that was Politico?
Yeah, was
Really?
it Politico? I think so, but someone was providing all of these examples as to why Hillary Clinton isn't quite out of the race just yet.
Oh.
And I think
okay.
one of the most valid points, I
Yeah.
guess, that I read was
Yeah.
the fact that in a different year, people might deem Hillary Clinton as too old, but come 2020, she'll still be a year younger than the person she is.
I know.
Running
and isn't
against.
it funny, really,
If-
age is just not an issue, especially for Donald Trump.
Right.
I mean, he's...
Very youthful.
Yeah.
Doesn't drink or do drugs. That helps.
I think so.
You know,
Yeah.
that keeps you young,
Yeah.
healthy.
Did you see the Bill Maher story today where he went out and said, 4 years ago, I gave $1 million to some organizations to try to keep Mitt Romney from being president. He said, I will now give Mitt Romney $1 million if he'll come back to politics and just take over and be president. So all these names
It's like,
that
be
have been
careful
around...
what you wish for.
Right, all
Bill.
these names that have been around for a long time, you know, they just kind of resurface. But I don't know. Yeah.
I know. I still remember, you know, you and I up here on News Now in 2015 talking about how Mitt Romney is not going to run because he wants to let someone young and fresh enter the Republican Party and be the standout star like a Marco
Right,
Rubio or a
right,
Jeb Bush.
Right. I think it's hard. I think it's hard when you're so invested in it politically. It's just like these superstar athletes who are approaching the end of their career,
Right.
and they want to keep playing, and it's so hard for them to say goodbye to what they love. And so I think Peyton Manning, if he felt like he still had it, he would still be in the league. And the fact that Tom Brady has not suffered any type of extremely serious, even though he broke his leg many, many years ago, he hasn't in recent years had any kind of extremely serious injury. He doesn't want to hang it up, and he shouldn't.
But he's still winning.
Right. Hillary Clinton, I think people really have passed judgment on her, and I just don't see it turning around for her. As far as Mitt Romney goes, I think he actually really flirted with it this last time around, but there was so much pushback from, remember at the time, how many people wanted to, remember how the field started with 17 Republicans? There was so many pushback from so many people saying, it needs to be my turn this time around, that I think he finally stepped back. So, anyways.
Well,